listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. Well, hey there, and welcome to episode 82 here on the Art of Homeschooling podcast. It's coming up on the end of the homeschooling year for many of you as I record this episode, and one of the most frequently asked questions I get from homeschoolers is, how do I know I've done enough? Or how do I know I'm doing enough? Lots of times when we ask this question, and I did myself years ago, we want some specific answer, an answer like, how many hours a day should we be homeschooling? Or how many math problems should my child complete in a day? Or how many practice pages should we be doing? As you can see, or maybe you've even experienced these emotions before, this very simple question can really begin to erode our confidence and our joy in homeschooling. So in this episode, I want to share with you 3 tips for how to look at this question from a few different angles. And to start off, I have a quote for you. I want to share this here because so often the question of doing enough leads to a deeper question of what I call enoughness, a sense that maybe we're not cut out for this, or maybe we don't have what it takes to be good at homeschooling. Maybe we aren't enough. So if you have ever felt down or discouraged from being behind or unable to do it all, remember this quote. It comes from the writer Maya Angelou. And when I came across this quote, that heavy feeling, it just lifted, and I knew I had to share it with you. So consider adding this mantra to your homeschooling mantras. If you want more of those, check out episode 81 here on the podcast. Here's the quote. Maya Angelou said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody." And I'm sharing this with you in case you're the one who needs to hear this today. You may be experiencing some pangs of disappointment at this point in your homeschooling year. Maybe feelings like, why is it taking me until dinner time to get all of our homeschooling done? Or why can't I keep up with my plans? Why doesn't it look smooth and easy like I imagined it would? How does everyone else seem to juggle it all, but I never can? Or why haven't we finished everything I planned for at the beginning of the year? So here are my top 3 tips to help you see your homeschooling efforts in a new light. Tip number 1, perhaps you're trying to do too much at once. I want to pass along some very wise advice that was given to me years ago, and it's this. You can have it all, just not all at once. It's the not all at once part that I want you to hear today, because here's the thing. It's not possible to homeschool children of multiple ages, create a painting with one child and knit with another, sing songs and verses, tell stories from memory, make homemade beanbags, fix a lovely hot breakfast for everyone, and then a healthy lunch, and then a dinner from scratch that's perhaps gluten-free or paleo or what have you. and have the laundry folded, the bathrooms cleaned with a spray cleaner you made from scratch. Oh, and throw together a batch of kombucha and teach recorder lessons. And oh my goodness, I could go on. This is what we picture in our heads. And then when we try to achieve it, we fall short and feel disappointed in ourselves. And well, frankly, we often feel not good enough. We have such high expectations of ourselves. Somehow, this is what we think we should be able to pull off. Somehow, we want to do it all every single day. Well, I hate to break it to you, but time is a finite resource. And if you're even asking the question, how do I know if I'm doing enough? You probably already are. Seriously. Here's the thing. If we can shift to recognizing that we can have it all, we can do it all, just not all at once, then we can begin to decide what our priorities are for today, for this day, and choose wisely based on how much time and energy we have. Tip number 2, you cannot improve from a place of not good enough. Oh, this is a big one. This has been really big for me. Maybe you can have it all over a period of years, over a lifetime, but not all today, not even all this week. I think that the place to start is with ourselves and believing in ourselves. Believe that you are enough. Repeat that mantra, I am enough, to yourself throughout the day. That's right. Just as Maya Angelou says, you alone are enough. I invite you to fully embrace that. Then build up from there. If you want to learn something new, to bring a new approach perhaps, or one of the lively arts such as painting or music or movement into your homeschool day, try this approach. Think in threes, pick one. That's another one of my mantras. Think of 3 things you want to bring to your day and then pick just one to start with. You want to give yourself time to focus on this one thing, to really bring it to life with the attention and love it and you deserve. We have to give things time. I love this phrase, time takes time. Sometimes learning new things takes lots of time. Like not just one day, not even 1 week, weeks perhaps, a month is even good. But sometimes it takes even longer to feel comfortable with a new skill, a new habit, or a new routine. We need to focus on one thing at a time so that we can stay present in order to make any change possible. And we cannot change from a place of, I'm not good enough. Now, I'm not trying to brush off that question of how do we know if we're doing enough? I just don't think it's the best place to start, because usually what's behind the question is the feeling that we somehow are not enough. And no external fix will remedy the problem, right? No curriculum or perfect plan or checklist can help with that feeling. Feeling enough is an inside job, as they say. And I hope that these very important reminders that I'm sharing with you today can help you tease apart the enough question just a bit to empower you, just enough to empower you to focus on what you can do. So, tip number 3, are you celebrating what does get done? I apologize to answer your question with a question here, but so often as homeschoolers, we find ourselves focusing on what we have not done, right? What we haven't done, what we didn't finish. Many of us have this tendency when we finish something, we tend to quickly check it off the list and think, okay, what's next? And move on. I think this comes from a feeling of pressure. There's always more to do, so we must press on and push through. Homeschooling is a really big responsibility that we've chosen to take on. But the truth is, pressure is rarely motivating. It keeps us out of the present moment, for one, and creates a constant comparison between what is actually happening and what we think should be happening. That should almost always seems to win. Have you ever heard the funny phrase, don't should on yourself? That's what I want to remind you of here. When we focus on the shoulds, we forget about our wins, our child's accomplishments, what's going well. So I encourage you to schedule time into your calendar to reflect back on what went well yesterday or last week, last month, even this whole past year. This can help you stop for a moment, slow down, and appreciate, even celebrate what is happening. And then you can make a plan that's more realistic as you move forward. This is why we have a reflections coaching call every month inside the Inspired at Home membership. We reflect back before moving forward. This reflecting back and celebrating is also the first step of the summer reset. That's a 5-day process that I walk homeschoolers through at the end of every homeschooling year. It's the exact process that I created for myself to help me feel better about wrapping up the homeschooling year. And this can help you too, this concept of celebrating what does get done. And then we can focus on the good instead of only seeing what's not working. So I just want to give you a quick reminder that you can find more details about the Inspired at Home membership and the summer reset in the show notes for this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 82. So in wrapping up here, I want to share another quote with you from an author and speaker, Alison Faulkner, who said, "Enough is a decision, not an amount." Whoa, enough is a decision. That's right. You get to decide how much is enough. Productivity actually has an upper limit, right? Meaning we can't just keep adding and adding and adding things to our homeschool day and expect to get it all done. So decide what's most important to you today. Think in threes, meaning identify 3 things you'd like to prioritize, and then pick just one to start. That's how we build a homeschool life that's simple, inspiring, and doable, while feeling like we're doing enough at the same time. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope these 3 tips can really help you reframe the question, how do I know if I'm doing enough as a homeschooler?
That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.